My Expo PSA submission is back. We'll be doing a live reveal on the podcast. We're also going to be chatting about the JT Miller trade and its trade implications on the hobby. And Anthony, I owe Upper Deck an apology. We'll get into that and more on episode 38 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 38 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast with myself, Mike Distefano, and Anthony Santini. We're a weekly Wednesday show diving deep into the world of hockey card collecting, flipping, and investing. You can find us up on YouTube, and you can also find us on Spotify for you on-the-go listeners. What's going on, Anthony? How you feeling this week?
What's up, buddy? Feeling pretty good. Obviously, had the Monday, Tuesday class. Got that out of the way. It was sweet. Actually went for a little bit of physio today on the right hand. That's been bugging me. Finally got to start working on that because
right hand bugging you, huh? You working it out a little too much?
Too much golf, man. I think it was too much during the what
golf buds. Buds. We are way too far past for that to be a golf problem. What are you talking about?
What? No, bro. Oh my God. I caught on to that way too late. I'm just gonna move past that because that was way too aggressive. I'm gonna start. But moral of the story was I hurt my hand in the summer playing softball, played hockey twice
now it's a week,
golf every day, working every day, and it just kind of killed me. And then now finally getting into physio. I caught on to that way too late. Anyways, I'm feeling pretty good, and obviously a lot to get into today. Some crazy you
All right. I'll move past it. This guy, he can't handle himself. He just can't handle himself right now. Oh, he's getting a little too excited. Anthony.
All right, lots of trade talk.
Lots of stuff to get into. So you got the Team Canada jersey behind you hanging over there too. I mean, we just about a week away from the start of the Four Nations Cup. I mean, you getting ready for the Four Nations Cup? You think that's going to have some hobby implications, pal?
I think there's going to be a lot of hobby implications for it. I think with the start of the Four Nations Cup coming in 2 weeks, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I really want to get into it. And it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think next week we'll probably go through like a top 5 list of, players we're keeping an eye on, players looking to pick up ahead of the tournament and maybe who can make some noise and try and, ride that hobby hype throughout that 2-week tournament. So keep an eye on that for next week. There was a big trade that went down again last weekend. The Vancouver Canucks trade saga finally comes to an end. JT Miller traded to the New York Rangers, where it all began for JT Miller. So he goes back to New York, and the Canucks made another deal afterwards, acquiring Elias Pettersson and Drew O'Connor. They got Philip Hedl and a first-round pick in the Ranger deal. So they made a couple of decent, moves, added to their depth, but obviously JT Miller is going to be a big loss to that franchise. But they're also hoping that they can get Elias Pettersson back by making that deal. So let's break it down and then talk about where we think things stand from a hobby perspective. But from an on-ice perspective, I'm just curious to get your thoughts on how you think Vancouver ended up faring, considering the situation that they were in with JT Miller.
Yeah, I do think that throughout the whole situation, it's been kind of like a 2-3 month coming for the Vancouver Canucks, where we all anticipated JT Miller to eventually get moved. My initial thought through it all was, and I saw it actually come across a banner that TSN had up. It was, did the Canucks trade the right player? And I totally agree with that. I don't believe that they traded away the right player. I think that 4 or 5 years from now, you could look back and say, as of right now, I mean, Pettersson could get moved, but as of right now, I think you should have kept JT Miller and moved on from Elias Pettersson. However, the haul that they got back, considering that their backs were against the wall, wasn't terrible. I do think there's a lot of room for Hedl to grow. I know he gets shipped out, and also the move for the first round pick that they ended up moving to Pittsburgh to ultimately get an additional Pettersson, the third Pettersson actually for the Vancouver Canucks, was part of the haul that Vancouver got. But JT Miller, Zibanejad, and Panarin has started off as one of the hottest lines in the NHL the past 2 games. He scored against the Boston Bruins, absolute ripper, and he's just gelled exactly where he's left off when he used to play for the Rangers just, 9 years ago?
Yeah, this was quite a bit ago, quite a while ago since he got dealt to Tampa Bay. And he finds himself now back with the Rangers. And yeah, he had 2 goals in that game against Boston. That he had 2 assists the next night. Yeah, JT Miller, he's picking up, where he left off prior to the whole hoopla that happened in Vancouver that really kind of sputtered all of their offense. I don't know if I agree with that. I think the Canucks probably made the correct decision. Like, Miller's the older player. And, I'm not too sure how much longer he's going to be as impactful as a player as Pettersson can be. Like, Pettersson's only like 24, 25 years old.
I
Like,
think he's 25.
He's still super young. I mean, 5 years from now, he's still going to be in his prime or exiting his prime, where Miller, he'll be 37 at that point. So,
Right.
I think that the Canucks moved out the right player. You just got to hope that, Pettersson figures it out now that Miller's gone, obviously. But I think they did okay considering the hand that they were dealt. Like, JT Miller had a no trade clause, so he had full control and full say of where he could go. Everyone knew that the Canucks were hoping to move him, so obviously no one was putting their hand out saying, hey, we'll give you everything you possibly want for this player, So getting Philip Hedl, apparently this Victor Mancini kid is a decent prospect. They think he could be an NHL player on the blue line. And they grabbed Marcus Pettersson and Drew O'Connor. And O'Connor actually scored the other night. Philip Hedl also has a goal for the Vancouver Canucks. So they really just beefed up their team and added a bunch of depth players, but they added some cap space as well, which can be valuable in itself. And it sounds like they're going to try and go out and get themselves an additional, second line center to try and replace JT Miller with the cap space that they opened up by making the moves that they did, moving out Miller, Heinen, Vinny Desharnais. They opened up quite a bit of space to make a move at the deadline of some kind. So, I don't think it's quite finished yet. I think you can still, consider this trade a little bit open-ended because, the cap space that they got from moving out Miller, they can still add to their team. So I think they did okay considering, how difficult of a trade it really was for Vancouver. There was a lot of obstacles and parameters around it. I thought that they actually made out decent. I wouldn't say they did great, but I think they did decent, all things considered, with the entire situation. And we'll see how it works out. They did shut out Colorado the other day, 3-0. They beat the Colorado Avalanche. So, we'll see if they can continue to win some games here. But they're 1-0-1 since the trade, I believe. They beat they took the Detroit Red Wings to overtime, and then they beat the Colorado Avalanche. So, yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. But in terms of having an impact on the market, Anthony, where would you say the biggest hobby impact lies stemming from this JT Miller trade?
I mean, I would say that the trade missed out on a big opportunity for Pettersson getting moved to have the biggest impact on the hobby. I think that JT Miller getting moved has a slight bump to his market, even though he's not very collectible. You don't see a lot of players collectors walking around looking for JT Miller Young Guns, JT Miller rookie autos, whatever it might be that is your niche. I think there was a big opportunity missed for collectors if Pettersson was to be traded to a bigger market like the New York Rangers, massive market team. I still think though that
are a pretty big market too, though.
Yeah, I would say so.
See,
However,
I personally, we see this whole trade completely different because I think that the biggest winner are Marcus Pettersson stockholders in the market. That's who I think the biggest winner of this trade is from a hobby perspective. Because if Elias
I was going to say Marcus Pettersson investors, I would love to have a beer with a Marcus Pettersson investor because I don't know if they exist out there.
No, to me, the biggest winners of this trade are the Elias Pettersson investors and those who hold a lot of stock in Elias Pettersson, because now he can be unleashed. And it's time for him to get back to being, the $11 million 100-point player he was a couple of years ago. If he could put this JT Miller stuff behind him and refine his game, dude, his market tanked. I bought a PSA 10 Young Guns, a market of Elias Pettersson the other day for $100, $100. This thing was going for what, $350? That one expo, just what, last or 2 Novembers ago, or last November,
2023 November.
Yeah, 2023 November. Like, that's what that card was going for. And it's since fallen off a cliff, but that shows that it can get back there. And again, he's only 25 years old. So if Vancouver does turn their season around and turn the franchise around and get going and get themselves into a playoff spot and go on a long run, and Elias Pettersson is the big reason for it, I truly believe that his market can go right back up to maybe not back to 350, 300, where he was kind of a hobby darling for a few months there. But I do believe that we could probably see that PSA 10, double in price from the $100 that it was selling for, a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure we'll see much of an impact on JT Miller. A little bit. We could take a look at his PSA 10 numbers. He's got a pop count of 172 with a 53% gem rate. We did see after the trade there was a buy it now offer. Best offer, take him at $220 after the trade. And that is coming. That was on February 1st, so the day after the trade. And the last sale prior to that was about $135. So you did see quite a decent jump, I guess you could say, from 135 to 220, but it was a best offer. So, sometimes you think twice about whether or not those are real sales or not. But I do think we'll see at least a little bit of a jump from JT Miller going to New York. And hey, Anthony, you look at his Young Guns, what jersey he's wearing in his Young Guns card.
Hey, he returned back to the New York Rangers. Everyone knows my strategy from the podcast days in the summer. If you're going to buy Young Guns players, if you want to invest in them, the hobby loves players that are wearing the team that they play on when you are buying them in the photo. Don't be buying, Jamie Drysdale because he plays for the Philadelphia Flyers, but his Young Guns are on the Anaheim Ducks. I don't know. I definitely do.
There's other reasons not to buy Jamie Drysdale, but
still pretty cheap. Either way, staying on topic here, I do see that the way we look at this trade is a little different. I think that Vancouver and the Rangers are both win now teams. Vancouver, weirdly enough, veering off that, what it seems, because I've seen some players on the block. Elias Pettersson, who's still on the trade block, it sounds like. I know Elliot Friedman mentioned that he was linked to the Buffalo Sabres. Brock Besser, who's in question now to be moved. I don't believe that these are two players that they should trade. Ultimately, will they? It is possible. Quinn Hughes has also been hurt the past week, 2 weeks, dealing with an injury, and it hasn't looked as good as Vancouver fans have anticipated after such an amazing.
They just shut out Colorado. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the season in general compared to last year, which was obviously a Cinderella story. In a sense, it felt like. But for the Rangers, I think ultimately it was a great trade. You pair them with Zibanejad and Panarin, it's going to be one of the most electric lines in hockey. And I think, my personal opinion, 3-4 years down the road, you could look back and say, I don't know if they traded the right guy. Maybe they should have kept Miller, moved off Pettersson. But either way, I do think that Pettersson can hopefully turn it around, as you were trying to mention.
Yeah, it's basically all up to Pettersson, whether or not he can, pull this team back into where they were a year ago. And it's, there's no more excuses for him, right? They decided Petey over Miller, and he's got to, live up to his end of the bargain on that one. He's also getting paid quite a hefty sum from Vancouver. So yeah, they need him to get back to being the 100-point Selke candidate player that he was a couple of years ago when he originally signed that deal. If he does get back to that, boy, is that going to be great for a lot of Pettersson card holders, let me tell you. All right. Well, I guess I used to be. There's a couple that I still have, but there's a
Pettersson believer. Pettersson believer.
I've been itching to look at this PSA submission literally all day because I wanted to wait until I did it live on the podcast so we can all find out what my PSA grade reveal is together. So I've got 6 cards that I got from PSA. These are the ones I did it with Kevin Douglas at KD Collectibles. We did them at it's the Fall Expo is where I dropped them off.
Right.
So I finally got them back. So here's the package unopened. So there's 6 different cards in here. To be honest with you, I kind of forget everything. I know that there's a Suzuki auto in here. I think a Kucherov Young Guns in here.
Oh, okay.
I believe I have a Crosby OP Platinum Seismic auto, a Victor Arvidsson Future Watch auto. Okay, I did not realize I had that, but that's what was on the back. That was the card on the back here. I don't know what the grades are, so I've not looked at the grades yet, but we're going to look at them right now. So I'll just quickly reveal, and we'll do it together. So my Victor Arvidsson, I got a PSA 9. Now keep in mind, a lot of people are saying that that PSA has gotten a lot stricter, and you are not seeing nearly as many 10s come across. Our buddy Brandon, he, kind of the third background member of the podcast, he did his submission and said that he had never, ever in his life gotten a sub where he'd been under 50% gem rate. I think only 3 of the 10 cards he sent in, he got gemmed. So I guess I'm not expecting, a lot of 10s. And also the fact that the back card is not like they might all be 9s, dude, which would be so terrible if they were. Okay, here is a 2022-23 O-Pee-Chee Platinum Seismic Gold preview, number to 25 of Sid the Kid Crosby, captain of Team Canada. This one, if this 10s, I am ecstatic. But again,
I remember when you got this too.
I got in a trade. Oh man, that's tough. An 8? An 8? How is this an 8? It's centered. It was cleaned properly. The corners are good. Like, how are we getting 8s on this stuff?
Oh man,
what is going on? Okay,
that's a beautiful card too, because that's like the gold and like it's kind of like a color.
Oh yeah,
match,
look at
like
that.
a seismic.
And it's numbered to 25, so not to 50. It's the preview to 25. An 8 on that. That is tough. All right, Shane Pinto, Future Watch auto.
Come on.
Okay, what
the heck? PSA 6? That's ridiculous.
What are we even looking at here?
Oh my goodness.
In what world should is this a PSA 6? There's got to be some surface damage that I did not see when I sent this in.
And I feel like that's what it is too, because even when I had my submission 2-3 or maybe a month ago when we were chatting about mine, I had a tough one. It's like you don't miss that until the grades come back. Okay.
PSA 9, Lucas Dostal, Allure rookie red rainbow auto. PSA 9. Am I not going to get a single 10?
Come on.
If I get skunked, I'll be so upset. All right, here's the Nick Suzuki.
Don't
red
look.
rainbow auto, retro auto.
Don't look.
A 9. Okay, I'll take a 9. This is a beautiful card, by the way. Color match.
Yeah, really nice. Don't you have the carry price for that as well, I believe?
I think I sold the price.
Right.
But yeah, Nick Suzuki, PSA 9. And here's the Nikita Kucherov. This is one that it had a raw grade, a BGS raw grade of 9. So I was like, if I can cross it into a PSA 9, then I'm happy. I'm laughing. So if this is a 9, then I'm happy. And I guess I didn't get a single 10, I guess. So I don't know what to think about the submission. It's actually a pretty garbage sub at this point. But if this 9's, then I'll live with it. Nikita Kucherov Young Guns. Okay.
All right.
We nined the Cooch. We nined the Kucherov. I'll take that. So we crossed it from a BGS 9 to a PSA 9. And I mean, that's going to make you money. Like that's going to make you money right there, crossing from BGS to PSA 9, honestly. As sad and stupid as it is, it's the same exact card, just in a different slab, but it is going to be worth probably an extra $100.
Yeah.
70, 80, $100 going from BGS Raw 9 to a PSA 9 itself. I think it's like a $350 card and a 9, or at least it was back when I was looking to sub it, and he's only popped off since. So well, I would say that's a rather disappointing submission. Not a single 10, and I somehow got a 6 on a modern card. How you get 6s on modern cards is ridiculous. And I was really hoping that this would get better than an 8, though. I still don't see how that's an 8. Like the only thing I could see is top to bottom. It possibly, if they looked at it top to bottom, but I looked at other cards that got 9s and 10s, and the top to bottom was the same. So I think it's supposed to be that way. You see, it looks like there's more at the top than the bottom, but it's supposed to be that way. And that's the one thing that bothers me sometimes about PSA. Like, we just are supposed to expect for the person grading it, the grading expert, to know what every card is supposed to look like. Like, if that's why it got an 8, and again, I don't know, there could be surface damage that I didn't see or something, but if it got an 8 because the top to bottom is off because they didn't know, or it looks like it's off, but it's actually designed that way, man, that really chaps my ass if that is the case. And that's, again, the thing that we don't get with PSA that BGS gives you is, that transparency in the subgrades. Like, I would know because it would have the centering subgrade. I would know if that's what docked it. So again, I get that PSA is always going to be the best for resale, and it's considered king in the hobby, the collecting hobby, more so the resellers hobby, I guess. But I'm still like, I personally still prefer BGS. It's blasphemous to say, but I prefer the subgrades and kind of knowing what's going on and why I got what I got. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like looking at that submission, 6 cards, no 10, PSA 6 on top of it all, just the cherry on top for that Future Watch Pinto. It makes you honestly question, how is that possible? Like, modern card, you took a look at it, Grader takes a look at it at PSA and deems it a PSA 6 when you probably thought it was at least a minimum 8, 9 or above. Like you mentioned, I think it's just getting tougher at PSA. I had a really tough submission a couple weeks ago. Currently, I have a PSA sub out that, I don't know, with the way the US dollar's looking, with the way that they're grading, it's just, I'm kind of thinking, like, was it the best time to send a submission? I don't know. I think I'm gonna kind of just sit on a standstill right now because it feels like everyone's having this problem.
Well, that, and I mean, the tariff talk, right? Like, I know that, like, not to get political, but it does have to do with the economy, and it could impact the card market. Like, this 25% tariffs, like, that's on all goods and services. Like, that would, I believe, include PSA submissions going cross border, or I know for fact it includes like all wax coming from America to Canada. So, just the economy is making things difficult in the hobby as a whole. With and I get it, they put a 30-day hold on the impending tariff tax that America was going to place on Canada and vice versa. But if they don't figure it out in the next 30 days and that tax does end up getting implemented, that extra 25% is going to come to the consumer. Like, that's going to come to us, right? Yeah. So I'd be curious to see if that's going to impact PSA and singles. I'm not 100% sure because it's not technically like new goods, but it certainly will impact the hobby in other ways, mainly in wax and ripping. And because, well, Canada's got to, like, the store's got to get their stock from Upper Deck. Upper Deck's in America. It's in the States. So if it's crossing over the border, that's going to be a tariff if that's what ends up happening. So everything's going to be 25% more on all sealed products, which is something to think about too. if that ends up happening. Again, right now it is at a standstill, and that's not a problem. But if that does happen and we get into a tariff war with the Americans, it's going to impact the hobby. It certainly will. So that was one piece of hobby news. I guess we can just kind of get right into hobby news. We had a heavy February hobby schedule, Anthony. We saw Clear Cut come out last week, just ahead of the month of February, but Clear Cut's out, and I've seen some great cards get pulled, some Bedard rookies that look sick, some, high gloss exclusive, number to 10, number to 35 autos of McDavid, of Matthews, of McKinnon, of Wayne Gretzky. You get some real cool cards. It's those one hit slot pulls basically with Clear Cut, one card, one box. It's like $150, and you just hope you get something great. And there are a lot of really cool cards out there. But so that came out last week. But for the rest of the month, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a short month too. February is only 28 days. But we've got 5 different releases coming out this month. We've got Allure coming out next week for 24-25 Allure, which has become one of the hobby favorites just due to the colors. Again, that's where the where's that? There was the Dostal, I believe, right? Yeah, the Dostal was
the Dostal,
an Allure, an Allure product. So that's coming out next week. They've got O-Pee-Chee Hobby. That is coming out February 19th, and then along with SP NHL Retail. But Metal Universe is coming out on February 19th as well. So a double of release days on products. I think O-Pee-Chee was pushed back a week. It was supposed to come out on the 12th along with Allure, but it got pushed back to the 19th. And Metal Universe is supposed to come out on the 19th. I'll be curious to see if that gets pushed back. But if it does, 23-24 EX200 is supposed to come out on the 26th as well. So it doesn't really matter. Once one thing gets pushed back in a schedule like this, you're going to have a double release day where 2 products are going to hit the shelves. 2 hobby products are going to hit the shelves on the same day. And that's what we're going to end up seeing in a couple of weeks here with O-Pee-Chee Paper hitting the shelves along with Metal Universe. This 23-24 EX200 though, that's something that I'm actually kind of interested in, and that's a Connor Bedard year, so there'll probably be a tiny Bedard tax on that card or on that set. But I can't wait to dig into that checklist. It hasn't come out yet, but I can't wait to dig into it because that's going to be kind of a cool throwback set.
Yeah, I think anything with Connor Bedard, like you mentioned, is going to have that Bedard tax. Actually, I was pretty excited in a sense to see that the Celebrini boxes aren't going to have that Celebrini tax / Bedard tax, which we know that Upper Deck's become so accustomed to because box is getting more and more expensive every release. Anything with Bedard just feels so out of my price range, and I know that that's especially relatable to a lot of people out there. So to be able to pick up hopefully a set like that for a reasonable price with Bedard rookies in it, fingers crossed. I mean, we're going to see when those prices come out, but a lot of good releases, a lot coming out. So really excited for
that. Something else that came out a couple of weeks ago that we poo-pooed it a little bit, I'll be honest. And I think we kind of fumbled the bag on the release here. The PWHL cards that came out a couple weeks ago, we kind of looked at them. We're like, yeah, I mean, hopefully it does well. It's got a bunch of young guns in it, obviously, like the star players, because it's the first year, so they can get away with, Marie-Philippe Poulin, they can get away with using a Sarah Nurse and a Brianne Jenner and a Natalie Spooner and all these star young guns that, wouldn't typically be in one set, in the first set, that are, because it is the first year of the product and the first edition, as it says on the box. I was not expecting it to be as hot of a seller as it is. And you can't find this stuff anywhere for anywhere near retail price. Like when this came out, it was about $150 a box, I believe is what it was selling for on release day. And it sold out quick. Now, I spoke to a couple of card shops and they tell me that this was a super underprinted set. And they did not get a lot of it, just a couple cases in most cases. and it went very, very fast. And in order to get it back, they got to pay out the ass with the distributor to get it because it's in such high demand right now. I've seen these go for now up and over $300 a box. I saw on Marketplace someone selling it for $350 a box. I saw on a Facebook auction one just sold for I think $285 or something like that.
Wow.
At auction on Facebook on one of those auction sites. And we're talking about something that a week ago, 2 weeks ago, was selling for $150 off the presses, and it's already doubled in price pretty much. I didn't see it coming. I'll be honest. I did not see it coming. What would you guess is the biggest factor in why we have seen these PWHL cards fly off the shelves like hotcakes?
I personally think that the scarcity of them, I guess just that supply and demand, the availability of them, like you mentioned too, with so many big names being available in the set, it's the first set too. It's just getting more and more popular. I would think.
Well, my
that
question
that's
to
why.
you, I guess, is like, do you think the league is more popular than we thought, or do you think it's hype that's driving the popularity of it?
I definitely think that the PWHL is more popular than most people would imagine. I don't think that that is what's driving it up. I think that the scarcity of the product, the names that are in it is really pushing that price up. But it just goes to show too, and like if you're trying to make the point, is it more popular than we think? I do think it is. And I think that people are starting to realize that too with this price increase now for resellers when you're looking to buy these boxes. Personally, I think that it's a solid investment being the first set. I was a little bit surprised though, because I do remember 2, 3 years ago when they did release the first set of WNBA Prism, we were seeing an insane amount, especially in retail. I remember when I was a shark walking into my local Walmart in St. Catharines there at the Penn Center. I used to always see the WNBA Prism blasters all the time, and I was anticipating a similar look with the PWHL, but with these boxes being sold out pretty much everywhere in my area and prices almost doubling, like you mentioned, in the past 2 weeks, the margins to pick them up have been insane. And I just think it's a testament to how fast the PWHL has grown in the past year or two.
Well, what's crazy too is that the best card available has already been pulled. So, last year for 23-24 Series 2, there was that $1 million bounty on the Connor Bedard 1-of-1 gold outburst. We're not sure if that's been pulled yet. It has not publicly been announced whether or not that's been pulled. The $1 million bounty was pulled and is no longer available, whether that's because somebody cashed in on it or they just decided we're not doing it. We do not know. It was just kind of quietly done in the middle of the night. But the best card, a Marie-Philippe Poulin gold 1-of-1, was pulled, and it belongs to a lady in Quebec, I believe, is where it was pulled, and it is currently on sale right now on eBay for 50 grand, $50,000 Canadian. Can purchase yourself a Marie-Philippe Poulin upper deck 1-of-1 gold outburst Young Guns of arguably the greatest women's hockey player of all time. 50K. Does that sound like a number that makes sense to you?
I'd say it's a number that would make sense when you're regarding one of the best players to play the sport, one of the most short printed cards, the flagship rookie card of Marie-Philippe Poulin. My question to you, almost to throw it back, is would you rather this card being a photo of the PWHL Montreal team or Team Canada? Because I don't know why. I just feel like this card would be a
Montreal.
little bit more special if it had that Team Canada, because that's what
Why?
she's been known for.
It's a
Well, for most of her
PWHL
playing year.
card.
Yeah, I don't know though. It's just kind of like lobbing it out there. I think that it would be a little bit cooler because of her success the past 5 years with Team Canada. Having that as her Young Gun 101, maybe like an alternate, some sort of like
That might be one of the dumbest things you've ever said. I'm gonna be honest
no,
with you.
but I
No, that
personally, I
that
mean,
might be one of the dumbest things you have ever. That's like saying, you know what? They really should have made McDavid's Young Guns in a Team Canada jersey, because we saw him on the World Junior stage representing Team Canada first, and he was so good. He should have been in a Team Canada jersey, not an Oilers jersey. Dude, it's a PWHL card. What do you think they're trying to push? The PWHL product. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm thinking a little bit too out of the box, like with some sort of alternative.
She has
I guess
hundreds, if not thousands, of her in Team Canada jerseys. You can go get those. They're available. The Young Guns is for PWHL and the Pro League. I don't understand how you think they should be in Canada jersey. That's insane.
the one thing that really came across my mind, and I was actually thinking about it the other day, talking to Eric, we were talking about the Young Guns 1 of 1 and how they're not as obviously short print, but not as special as you would think. I know it has the gold outburst. That looks great, but you could also buy the silvered outburst. And we were just kind of talking about spitballing on our way to Buffalo last week, headed to watch the Bruins Sabres game. One card, if you're going to make it a 1 of 1, it should be the only Young Gun. Maybe let's say we're going to do a Macklin Celebrini Young Gun. He's wearing the blue teal jersey in the regular Young Gun. However, in the 1 of 1 Young Gun, he's wearing the white jersey, and it's a different photo.
It's
And
like
that's the
photo
only
variation.
photo. Exactly. And it's just the clear 1 of 1 where you can look at that and be in awe of just like, I've never seen that in the Young, and not the acetate, nothing. I don't know. That's kind of where my mind was wandering. But either way, to kind of put a bow on it, I am pretty happy to see that the PWHL stuff has risen the way that it has. I kind of wish I grabbed the case, because I think it would have been a great way to, invest for the long term. But the back of my mind was just the WNBA Prism and how that kind of sat. And I was thinking a little bit similar, but it's awesome to see, and definitely good for the hobby.
The biggest reason why it has sold crazily is because it's getting a lot of young girls and women involved in the hobby, which obviously was the point, and that's going to be their target audience, and it seems like it's worked. The two store owners that I spoke to that have already sold out of this stuff and are having troubles getting it back in stock said they continue to get phone calls from women trying to buy it, and it sounds as though you can complete pretty well most of the base set and Young Gun set within like a box or two. Apparently it's only a 70 card set, so you're getting 50 base cards and 20 Young Guns. So within a couple of boxes, you pretty much can complete the entire set. And again, it's a first edition, set. It's the first ever year that they've done this, and it says first edition right on the back. So that is kind of cool, I suppose, as well. But that's a big reason why, and maybe something I didn't anticipate. A completely new section entering the market to purchase these cards and bring a lot of eyeballs and more money into the hobby, which I think is a really good thing, actually, in total. All right, Anthony, any big pickups this week?
Nothing big. Picked up one card, actually. I'm waiting for it in the mail. Picked up a Robert Thomas Future Watch auto. It's on the way right now. I picked up for $55. I thought that was pretty fair. Buying it a little bit more to hold on to and just kind of keep in the stock, because I think he's a great player. Very, very underrated. I think his Young Guns should almost cost $50. Already won a Stanley Cup. A lot of room to grow still. So, pick that up. Pretty happy with it, and hoping to pick up a little bit more next week.
Well, I guess my pickups was this crappy PSA submission was pretty much what I picked up. I did make a small pickup. I was at the local card store and grabbed a couple of things out of their $2 value bin, just some really cheap, autos and jersey cards that I'll just shove in a couple of my boxes. Nothing too spectacular. I did also actually grab I dipped a little bit into the Pokemon market too. It seems to be heating up. I grabbed a case of the 151 booster bundles. So yeah, we'll put that away. Nice little sealed case for for the collection for down the road. But yeah, outside of that, not a big time pickup week for me when it came to hockey cards. Probably gonna hit up a show next weekend though, which will allow me to, have some more pickups for the pod for the following week. So should be good. What shows we got next week? Actually, before we quickly take off, let me just talk about what we got next week. I'll open up the little app here. I know that there is
100%. That one on Sunday is kind of the one that's pinpointed for most people. The Greater Toronto Card Show.
Yeah.
For everyone that used to play hockey, Chesswood Arena right next door to it. I've been there to the show a couple times. A lot of fun. It was crammed, very crammed. For everyone that's been before, it gets really crammed in there. Good crowd, good vendors. I'll probably be there. Should be a pretty good show. So
Yeah, you've got the Evolution show also on the Saturday. So that one's at the up in Richmond Hill. I've been there. I've set up at that show. It's pretty good, pretty solid one. And then the Greater Toronto Card Show, and then Steeltown Card Show in Dundas and Hamilton as well. I think our boy Brandon might be setting up there if the snow doesn't get too bad. But apparently there's supposed to be some snow overnight, Saturday into Sunday. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening.
It's Super Bowl Sunday, so
yeah, buddy.
There's only one question, one way to end this podcast. I need you to pick a Super Bowl winner. I'm going Chiefs. I need to know who it is.
EAGLES. Eagles, baby. Let's go. Looks like we might have a little wager on our hands, a little lunch wager. Eagles and Chiefs.
We'll talk off the record here.
No, I need a handshake on record.
Securing me in? All right, yeah, we'll go here. A little lunch or something. Sure, we're good. We're good.
It's done.
Go
it's
Chiefs.
Happening. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe right here on YouTube and also subscribe to us on the go for you audio listeners on Spotify. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of the Hockey Card Haven podcast.